We welcome Paul Marsh, who is the boss of the AFL Players Association and Chief Executive Officer. Paul, thanks for joining us on Classified tonight.
Pleasure, Ed.
Mate, first of all, can I ask you, what's your thoughts, given the fact you haven't got anything in front of you? It's a bit like when we first spoke to you or you were being asked about the pay cuts and things like that. There is just an idea that is floating around at the moment. It's gathering momentum. What's your thoughts off the top of having these hubs?
Yeah, we've been saying this for a few weeks. I mean, we understand the seriousness of what's going on here, and we need to be open-minded to solutions that are going to get the season back on. In saying that, we need to go through these things in detail. We need to understand if there's any risk to, firstly, the players from a health and safety and wellbeing perspective, but also to, wherever we may take the game. So I think they're things that I'm sure the AFL will address in whatever proposal they put to us. We'll go through it with a fine-tooth comb as we do, and we'll make the right decisions. I'm sure of that.
Are you disappointed you haven't been taken on the journey earlier, Paul? This seems to have been a slight recurring theme since the corona state of emergency was set in place.
Oh, everything's moving so quickly, Caro, and I think I've certainly had a chat to the AFL today about this, and they're working quickly on this. I think what is happening here is bits of information seem to be leaking out into the media, and then the stories are coming. And like the AFL's not in a position, this is what I'm being told, to give us the full proposal. When they are, they will, and we'll work through it. So I think, given where things are at the moment, it's not as though we need to make this decision this week. We've got some time to work through before getting back to playing footy is a realistic option, and we'll work through it like we've done on every issue with the AFL.
Paul, I heard Stephen Hocking from the AFL speak about the end of April is where decisions need to be made. Do you put forward proposals like how many you'd like on the interchange bench and a number of those things if we are playing multiple games across a week?
Yeah, look, we've had conversations about that, Matthew. I think there's a whole lot of things that we're working through, but this really is, in terms of changes to the game, it's going to come back to when we start and therefore how much we need to compress the rest of the season. And I think the AFL's already shown by shortening the quarters that they're open to this. They understand the importance of player wellbeing. So, once again, I'm really confident we'll work through those sorts of issues.
Yeah, Paul, in relation to the staff at the AFLPA, there's been some noise around that, whether it's right or wrong, but the rest of the AFL and the clubs have had to stand down 80% of their workforce. Has that impacted on you, or is it something that the AFLPA thinks they need to keep those staff to care for their players with the mental stress that's occurring?
Well, Ross, as I'm sure you're aware, when we did the deal with the players and their salaries for the rest of the year, the AFLPA agreed that we'd get no more funding for the rest of the year. So we've taken a huge hit financially, and we've had to cut our cloth accordingly. Clearly we have a different role in the industry to what the clubs do. I think our players need us probably more right now than they ever have, not just our current players, but our past players, of which there's over 4,500, and also our female members. So we're trying to find a way through to help our members, and that's what we're here to do. But also we're doing this with a vastly reduced amount of money to work with.
Paul, you're probably in a unique situation. Your father, Rod Marsh, used to head off on tours all the time with his magnificent cricketing career. I want to just show a little bit from the magnificent documentary called The Test. And it was in episode 7, and it's about Matthew Wade, who was picked to go on the Ashes tour and left his family behind and his wife behind in Tasmania with a 4-day-old. And we'll discuss just what it takes, as particularly with your old role as the Cricket Association union boss, mate, just what you need to do if we get to this stage. What are the things you have to put in place? Here's Matthew Wade on The Test.
I was due in June. I didn't want him to have regret.
She was pretty firm on getting me over there, and to leave them now was difficult.
Matt left when Goldie was 4 days old. Seeing him go was a tough one, but I knew he had to go and I wanted him to go.
Yeah, it's very emotional scenes there. And, of course, later on in that episode 7 on Amazon, you see Matthew Wade make 100, and it is just one of the great moments. And he does the rock the cradle for the baby, and it has a fantastic happy ending. Let me go back to your old job. In preparing teams to go away from families for long times, what's the thing that you look for? If you get this dish to you, how do you respond? What are the things you look for your players, Paul?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's just put aside the health and safety and well-being because
Yeah.
I think that's important that we get that part right. If that part of it's right, then one of the things in cricket that we did is because the guys are on the road for up to 300 days a year, and we negotiated for them an ability to take their families on tour with them. Cricket Australia paid for that, and we through the Australian Cricketers Association actually had support people that would go on the tours with them at least once a year. So there are a lot of things we put in place to try to support the players and make sure they had their families around, because that's a really challenging part of this. And AFL players, unlike the cricketers, they haven't signed up to this at this point. Cricketers understand that's part of the sport, and I think for football, it doesn't mean that it won't happen, but they haven't signed up to this. So, there's a huge adjustment that will need to be made here. But as I said off the top, we've just got to work through what is a unfathomable sort of set of circumstances here this year and try to get the best outcome we can.
So, Paul, your president, Patrick Dangerfield, we were told on Classified on Monday night by Joel Selwood, had a tough week after an interview he gave Gerard Whateley 2 weeks ago. It's a semi-regular spot, or a regular spot he does. He's spoken out again and caused controversy this week, not saying it's bad, but is he representing the players, and are you comfortable with him being the mouthpiece of the players at the moment in a regular radio spot, or is he just representing himself?
Oh, I think Patrick does a fantastic job for all the players. I think he will often take positions that may not line up with his own views, but he knows the role that he's got. He's highly respected by the playing group. So I think it's a difficult job at times because you are wearing 2 hats, and you're allowed to have your own opinions as well as representing the views of the collective group. But I think Patrick does a great job.
Paul, I spoke on Monday night about the fears I have for rookie-listed players, international rookie players. The Marlon Pickett story, Podsy Ardley of years gone by. Could we actually see a contract like Dustin Martin's torn up and started again in regards to having larger lists moving forward? Because I just wonder if those players don't come in, will the cuts be too deep for clubs and we lose just too many players out of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all ahead of us, Matthew. We're in this position at the moment where we're 3 weeks down the track of everyone's world being turned upside down. At the moment, we don't know what the final impact is on this year, let alone what it looks like next year and beyond. And I know these are all talking points at the moment, but I think give us time to work through what may need to happen. I think we've shown that we're open, and the players will play their role in taking hits if we need to. But let's actually just let the dust settle on this and see where we need to get to as an industry, and then we'll react. But, talks of cutting list sizes and all the rest of it, I think we've got to actually work out whether that's the right outcome for the game and what are the flow-on effects if we do those sorts of things.
Yeah, great stuff, Paul. Thank you very much for making yourself available tonight. I think people listening to you tonight will walk away feeling a lot better that the competition is coming together. There's lots of ideas floating everywhere, and until you actually get something that's concrete, it's very hard to make those decisions. But I think given the fact that you've been involved in cricket for so long, and we know that they go away for long time frames away, we've seen Olympians, we have no doubt that our players will be able to stand up to the situation. Good on you, mate. We really appreciate you being here.
Anytime, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Paul Marsh, the CEO of the AFL Players Association.